pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. Miranda, may we have roll call, please?
They switched locations on you. I'll start with you, Mayor Bain.
Here.
Councillor Gorell.
Here.
Councillor Lundstrom.
Here.
Councillor Scalise.
Here.
Councillor Sherman.
Yes, here.
Councillor Spradlin. Councillor Straw.
Here.
Yours keeps going on and off, Larry.
There you
Larry's
are.
light keeps going on and off, so it's trying.
That little button up and down. Dana could wiggle all night. What do you?
Hold on, that's what happened.
Get it?
Yeah, it just wasn't plugged in.
Oh, okay, because he didn't show sound back.
Oh, no.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm loud enough. Thank you.
Did we make it all the way through roll call? Okay. All right, we've all had a chance to look at the minutes for the regular meeting of January 25th. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? Hearing none, I'd look for a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
I'd so move.
Second.
Motion to approve, Councillor Scalise, a second, Councillor Strau. Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Councillor Sherman.
Yes.
Councillor Lundstrom.
Yes.
Councillor Gorell.
Yes.
Councillor Scalise.
Yes.
Councillor Straw.
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Here, yes. Running a little behind tonight.
Are you here?
Yeah, sort of. Okay, tonight we have the pleasure of having Melody Christensen and I believe Trina Chu from Veterans Suicide Awareness and Prevention. VSAP is the acronym to that. And they're here to tell us a little bit about their organization. So if you want to come on up.
Dim the light.
We've got a little PowerPoint presentation.
Oh, great. Okay.
Also with this, so. 911, what is your emergency? My brother, mother, grandfather, sister, neighbor, best friend, fill in the blank, just took their own life. Can you imagine dispatchers around the United States get 15 to 20 calls every day from friends and families of veterans who died by suicide, along with all the calls from non-veteran friends and families who died by suicide. The most current 2018 statistics are 17.5 veterans every day take their lives. So we would like to help change that. So I'm Melody Christensen. I'm the coordinator of VSAP and a proud Navy veteran. Oops. Should have that up during my story. So on Thursday, May 16th of 2019, the Together with Veterans Coalition, a community-based suicide prevention program partnering with and for rural veterans, brought together a group of veterans and community members from the Brush area for an information building meeting. TWV, which I'll refer to as Together with Veterans, is funded by the Veterans Administration Office of Rural Health. So TWV is carried out by a collaboration between Rocky Mountain Mental Illness Research, Education, and Clinical Center, which is MIRIC for suicide prevention, the Western Interstate Commission for Higher Education Behavioral Health Program, which is WICHE, so now you know why they use acronyms, it's really long, local veterans, and other community stakeholders. And then through these partnerships, TWV supports the dissemination of best practices in public health suicide prevention to rural communities consistent with the goals of the National Strategy for Preventing Veteran Suicide. So there are 4 guiding principles that TWV uses throughout the United States. Veteran-driven, it's all about the veterans. Veterans provide the leadership, and veterans provide the permission and work together to implement this program in their community. It's all about collaborative. So it's community partners play a key role in successfully supporting the veterans and their families. And if community partners are informed and educated about suicide prevention, veteran military culture, which is a lot different than civilian culture, we all have a different language that we speak when we all get together, they're better equipped to address the needs of veterans. So collaborative and education will strengthen the suicide prevention network for veterans, their families, and friends. It's evidence-informed, so they use well-researched models that have been shown to be effective to reduce suicide, and it's community-centered. So it's partnership with unique suicide prevention action plan based on community strengths and addressing community needs. When we first started this program, they came in and they did a community readiness assessment and then came back, gave us the results to see how much the community actually knows about veteran suicide in the area and what kind of resources are available. And we're about to do another one of those next week. So if anybody would be interested in being on that, it's just a Zoom call, just questions that they ask you, and it's your own personal opinion of what you know about veteran suicide in the area, and if there's enough information out there and what we're not getting out to people.
Did it freeze up?
I don't know, I probably pushed something. Out there. Over there. How about over here? That'll work.
Controls people easier that way anyway.
Nothing in here's been used for 2 months.
So TWV is currently in 15 communities throughout the United States. When we first got on board with this in 2019, there were about 3. So you can see how much it has grown, which I don't know if that's good or bad, because obviously the need is out there. So it has grown by 15 communities, even Alaska and Guam. So at that May 16th meeting, Stacy Cyphers, I'm sure a lot of you know who Stacy is, at that time was the Regional Health Connector Veteran Specialist of Centennial Area Health Education Center, which is KHEC, another long acronym. She's also a veteran, and she's the one who kicked off the meeting by sharing her own story and encouraging attendees to introduce themselves and their reasons for being there. Attendees also heard more about the national reach of the Together with Veterans efforts and collaborated on a SWOT, not SWAT, SWOT, Strengths, Weaknesses, Opportunities, and Threats assessment of the community. And again, VSAP received those results back from that assessment, and it gave us a starting point of what to work on. Approximately 25 people attended that meeting, including veterans, community leaders, behavioral health professionals, veteran services professionals, and more. Mayor Bain, Morgan County Sheriff Dave Martin, and former Sheriff Jim Crone were among those in attendance. And appreciate you jumping on board there, Mayor. Okay. So these are the action plans that TWV has us get started with. So there's the Provide Suicide Prevention Training, and that goes to anyone and everyone that wants it. Enhanced primary care suicide training, that would be to hospitals, clinics, etc. Promote connectedness and help seeking. That would kind of be starting with our one-page resource document that we are putting together that we can give to a veteran, and everything they need is on one page, and they're not running around making 40 phone calls on trying to figure out where they can get the assistance that they need. There's also improved communication across veteran serving programs, such as Veteran Service Officer, which Dan was and is now retired from, but we have a new one, and also through the VA. Promoting lethal means safety, which would be like gun safety, the types of guns, the type of gun locks, and how to use them safely. And then there's the promote behavioral health science prevention, such as Centennial Mental Health, Center for Healing, Trauma, and Attachment. So after the kickoff meeting, we started meeting the first Monday of every month, 6 p.m. at the Brush VFW. Anyone is invited. Just RSVP to me because we feed you, so I want to make sure there's food available. But the things that we have done since then is we developed a steering committee. We decided on our name, Northeastern Colorado Veteran Suicide Awareness and Prevention, which is VSAP. We participated in events by having booths. We provided our first several awareness and prevention trainings. We ordered shirts and banners for visibility. These are the polos. Dan's wearing one. Eric's got the t-shirt on. We developed a website and a Facebook page. We participate monthly in the 22 is Too Many on the corner of Edison and Colorado. Thank you for those of you that support that. And then there's almost 60 individuals on our roster right now. Some of them are here tonight. Dan Scalisi, Jeanette Corbin, Eric Christensen, Trina Chu. And I have a couple to add, obviously. So we'll work on that.
Melody, do you, for the meetings that you're having, do you anticipate that you'll continue to have the option for people that during a pandemic don't want to go down to the building, have the Zoom option to attend the meeting that way? Are you going to continue that?
Yeah, we're kind of doing it dual right now. There's in-house, and with the blue level, hopefully we can get a few more
Right.
into the building now also. And then we're also doing it by Zoom. And I think we finally figured out the microphone thing, so.
Oh, I saw,
that's not an
as I
issue
left the
for
last
next
meeting, I heard you
Thank
guys
Danny,
cheering,
for
so.
that too. So in the process, what we're doing right now is we have a free Valentine's dinner for veterans and their families to help with isolation during COVID-19, because we know there's a lot of them out there that are alone and just need somebody to talk to. We're developing that one-page resource guide that I talked about so they can find assistance quickly. We have a gun safety class coming up on Saturday, March 6th, 2 o'clock at the Brush VFW from Brush's own K-9 officer Leroy Brown, and he was more than happy to do that. We're processing our 501c3 nonprofit paperwork, and we're working on trying to get the question, did you serve in the military, on medical admission forms, which we feel can change how veterans are medically analyzed for treatment, whether it's PTSD, whether it's Agent Orange, whatever war they fought in, might make a difference in their being analyzed on what actually is wrong with them. So we're working on that as we speak. We are not counselors, but our goal is to provide training and resources starting with the 3-county area, Logan, Morgan, and Yuma counties, and hopefully reaching out to all of northeastern Colorado in the near future. These are some of our current and hopefully future local partners. I'm not going to read all of those. You can kind of see what we have there, but we're learning as we go of who else we can partner with. So we're hoping that list will get longer. The meetings are going well. People are coming and wanting to know what we have to offer. So I hope you'll never have to make the call, 911, what is your emergency? I've been there, I've done that, and it's not fun. So I would like to introduce Trina Chu. She's kind of the leader. What's your title? she's something for Northeast Colorado Community Collaboration for Veterans, and she wants to tell just a little bit about what's going on with them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Melody.
Thank you, Melody. I'm going to stay right here. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for letting me have a few minutes of your time. My name is Trina Chu. I am a veteran here in Morgan County, and I worked for a brief period of time with the Cheyenne VA as a peer specialist. I'm a certified peer specialist. I also am a licensed clinical social worker, but I am not seeing clients at this time. But I started what we refer to briefly as NECO, the Northeastern Community Collaboration for Veterans, as part of my role as a peer specialist in the community, because often when people refer to Northern Colorado, it's assumed that we're a part of that. But in truth, Northeastern Colorado, we're pretty far out from a lot of resources, including VA services. And one of the things at the time that was important and has come down with the Mission Act is to address suicide prevention, mental health care, and veterans health in general in the rural areas that are not as easily served by the VA, in the sense that the VA can't possibly be anywhere and everywhere all at the same time. And it's a grand distance for many of us to travel to get care. So initially this collaboration was about connecting here in my community. I've been in need as a veteran, and I have had a difficult time getting services here through the VA and not even knowing where to turn. So with the collaboration, part of the goal is to identify what is in our communities as far as resources for veterans, and are they aware of each other. As I started this collaboration, it was surprising to find out how many different suicide prevention, for example, suicide prevention programs that weren't even aware of each other. VSAP didn't know that Banner Health has a zero suicide program, didn't know that, possibly Kelly Parish was doing the Break the Silence event in Morgan, and all these different things to raise awareness. So the goal is to pull all of the resources together for awareness and to identify overlaps and gaps in the service to veterans in the northeastern region, the 6 northeastern counties here. And so one of the things that we are hoping for, and I have some flyers over here of different sizes, is that to invite any community member, any agency, any organization, representatives who are interested, who know veterans, who are friends with veterans, family members, veterans themselves, who would like to join the collaborative. It's every first and third Tuesday, hosted in collaboration with the VA. Dr. Tim Parker, he hosts it for the platform. Most of the time I end up facilitating, we co-facilitate together. And the goal is to identify areas of need in the community. One of the things that has been especially troubling is all of the youth suicide that has occurred in a short period of time in our rural counties. That's something that we've been addressing it. How can we focus? Because it has a ripple effect. It all has a ripple effect in the community. So it's not just veterans, the focus is veterans, but we recognize that it affects the community as a whole. So we want to extend the invitation to any of you who are interested in attending, who might want to share the word. If you want to contact me, my contact information is on the flyer, and I would be happy to get you set up with a link for the meetings if you're able to.
Okay.
Thank
And you're
you.
going to leave the flyers, you have copies of the flyers you leave with the, okay.
Yeah, there are several over there as
Okay,
well.
okay.
And if you have any, local businesses who are willing to hang them for folks to be made aware, that would be awesome.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you,
Thank you.
Trina. Appreciate it.
Thank you. This is Delilah.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say, I didn't get an introduction. Okay. And Melody, your meetings are the first Monday at 6 o'clock at the VFW. 6 o'clock at VFW. Okay. Either live or Zoom? Okay. All right, thank you. All right, at this time, I'll go ahead and open it up for citizen comment. Is there anyone that would like to comment publicly tonight? Nobody? Okay. All right, we'll move on to number 5, management, board appointments. After our last council meeting, Councilor Scalisi called me, and Councilor Gorell had expressed an interest in serving on the library board. And Dan told me, he said, Rick, he says, I'm on 3 boards now. I'm on 3 boards now. I don't want to be greedy. He said if Allison has an interest in serving on that board, he'd be glad to give up his spot. So I contacted Allison. She said she'd be happy to do it. So tonight I'm here to ask council for a motion to approve that change. Also, let's see, I had
Thank you, Dan, by the way. I really appreciate that.
all right. And I got a call from Tim Oakley, who recommended Rob Zelmer for the Planning and Zoning Commission. Tim is the chairman of that committee. And Rob met with Rick Karoglian last week, I believe, for about an hour to explain what Planning and Commission does and that sort of thing. The only hesitancy Rob has is that his wife has immune-compromised type things, and for meetings, at least in the near future, until they get the vaccine, he would like to be able to attend any sort of meeting Zoom, and I think Rick told him we have the capability to make that happen. So other than that, he would be happy to serve on that board. That would fill the vacancy left by Steve Treadway. So this isn't a 6-year appointment. This would be a 2-year appointment to fill that spot until January 2023. So with that, I would entertain a motion from council on those 2 appointments.
I'll move we approve Allison to Library Board and Rob Zelmer to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Okay, we have a motion to approve both appointments. Do I have a second?
Second.
Larry, second. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Counselor Stroud?
Yes.
Counselor Gorell?
Yes.
Counselor Scalise,
Yes.
Counselor Sherman,
Yes.
Counselor Lundstrom,
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes. Okay, moving on to 5B. Council has done a lot of discussion on this. It has to do with the liquor occupation fees that Rush is charging. And I believe speaking to this will be Dan Krob remotely. Dan, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Before you is an ordinance that would adopt the changes we previously discussed and set the liquor occupation fee at $50. It would also allow that rate to be changed by resolution for future council or to be suspended upon vote of the council. So, pretty straightforward. If you have any questions, I'm happy to address them.
Okay, anyone have questions on it? Okay, what we'll need to do, if this is changing the ordinance, I'll need a counselor to introduce the ordinance by title.
I move to introduce ordinance number 880-21, which amends Article 6, Chapter 6, Article 2 of the Brush Municipal Code regarding liquor occupation fees.
Okay, we have a counselor introduce the ordinance. I would now look for a motion to approve ordinance number 880-21 on first reading.
I move that we approve ordinance number 880-21 on first reading.
Okay, have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
A second?
Dana, second. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Counselor Lundstrom,
Yes.
Counselor Stroud,
Yes.
Counselor Garrell,
Yes.
Counselor Scalise,
Yes.
Counselor Sherman,
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes. Okay, moving on to 5C, a contract with Morgan County for recycling. I have Dale Colwick. Monty, are you taking?
Yeah, Dale's not able to be here this evening,
Okay.
so he asked me to step in, and this is a recycling agreement that we sign each year. It's an agreement between the city of Brush and Morgan County, and this is the city's recycling program that we started roughly 5 years ago, about 5 years ago. And when we started the program, what we did is we first started off with, we had some containers put out across by the post office for recyclables, and we started off with drop-off points there. We also had cardboard drop-offs located there as well. More recently, we had a glass drop-off container out there, but that company went bankrupt, so right now we're not accepting the glass recyclables. And then we also have the door-to-door recycling program, and that's where, I guess we're probably about close to 100 now. I mean, at one point we're at 50, then we're at 60, 75. We might be up to about 100 in the community that use the blue recycling containers at their homes. And every Wednesday the solid waste guys go out and collect that up. And what they do is they take that as well as what's across the street here. They take that to the Morgan County landfill. When it goes to landfill, they keep it separate and they compact it, put it in these bundles. And those bundles are picked up by a third-party recycler. And then Morgan County is then paid a certain amount for the recyclables. And then 50% of the cost they keep, or 50% of the proceeds they keep, 50% comes back to the city of Brush. And cardboard as well, or excuse me, for the cardboard. But the agreement is for a year, and it just continues on what we've been doing. It's been a pretty positive program. I don't think that there's any issues that we've run across lately, so. Anything else you want to say, Joanne?
Yeah, I do have one quick comment. Along with this cardboard recycling, the state offers a recycling grant. And so it ties in with the recycling of our cardboard that we send to the county and the single stream that we send to the county. Annually, I can file for a grant through the state, and on average, we get approximately $4,000 a year from that grant for the recycling that we do. And with that, we've been able to, that gives us some extra income where we can go ahead and we've been able to purchase the 50-gallon poly carts for the trash recycling is one of the items we've used it for.
Oh, yeah, and I happened to be dropping off some cardboard last week, talked to the guys, they were emptying them. They said there's, I think, six big bins over there, and they said they're emptying them twice a week now, so that's
Yeah,
good.
there's a lot of cardboard that goes in there.
So the blue polycarbonate, is there a charge to residents for those?
There's no charge, it costs you $50 to buy those.
$50, okay.
Or the 50 cubic yard, but it's no cost to pick them up. It's just actually part of your regular
Okay.
trash pickup.
Okay, but that seems to continue to be growing with the community then?
It
Okay.
doesn't grow in huge amounts, but it does grow. And
Okay,
we've had some people
Across-
notice the glass recycling is missing,
Yeah,
so.
across the street, we've seen a lot more, but we believe it's because of the COVID, a lot more people doing the online purchasing and buying.
Oh,
and so
true.
you have a whole bunch more.
That's
and-
why I'm going.
Yeah, we used to be able to get away with it one time a week, but now you've got to go more to get,
Okay.
take care of it.
Okay.
So
Don't want to overflow.
I'm sorry, I have a quick question. I was one of the first 50, and at that time, it was just a rollout program. It wasn't really being spoken about.
Mhm.
So is there like a rollout program at this point where citizens can request to get one? Are you expanding, or are you choosing to stay small for right now?
No, we have them in stock right now, so you
Okay.
can still come on at any time. And we had advertised, quite a bit at the beginning, and then just anytime someone comes to town and buys a house or something like that, and they come in to get a trash cart, they can also at the same time get a recyclable one if they want to as well.
Is there like some logistical challenge? Because if you've got like a couple here, a couple there in town, is there more than one person picking them up, or?
Well, it's our trash crew that they go around, and you mentioned twice, the blue carts are on Wednesdays.
Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah, Wednesdays only,
Mhm.
and that's the down day for the trash guys where they only have maintenance going on their trucks, and so that's the reason we went with that day, is it's pretty light, and
Is-
the more the better.
Is the hope to expand going forward, especially as we continue to grow the city? Is the hope to expand the program?
The hope is to expand, but I do also realize with recycling, there are those who just don't want to do it. There are those who do want to do it, but they generate so little. I mean, there's some places where just regular trash, they can't fill up half their trash bin. Other places use 3 trash bins or polycarts. And so, I'm guessing we're seeing a lot of the ones that just don't want to have another blue container at their house. They're just dropping it off over here across the road.
Okay.
So that's
fair.
something that we can do another push on our website, and then also through our Facebook page.
Yeah, I'm a big recycler, so I'm all for it. It's a great program.
Is there a plan for the glass? Is there like another company we're trying to find, or?
Dale's working on it right now.
It's pretty full.
Yeah, and you know what's working from right around me? I don't have one, but my neighbor has one, and they don't fill it up every week. So the neighbors across the alley are using theirs with their permission, so that we can, until we have a need for another one, we don't need one right now, but it's working pretty well, I think.
I'm just gonna dump my stuff at Allison's house now.
Well, my friend from Snyder they don't have recycling in Snyder, so I actually have hers sometimes in my bin as well. And so
Yeah.
I work to fill it, and my friends that come over, they know that we recycle at my house. And so we do not put things in the trash can.
Yeah,
It's not a bad program, but yeah, I like the idea of sharing. Maybe that's something a thought that can be expanded on. Maybe Dale would be interested in that.
So
Okay.
we're encouraging council to approve that agreement.
okay. All right, with that, I'd look for a motion on this contract.
I move that we approve the contract for the Morgan County Recycling.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilor Gurel to approve.
Second?
Councilor Lundstrom seconds. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Counselor Sherman?
Yes.
Counselor Scalisi?
Yes.
Counselor Stroud?
Yes.
Counselor Lundstrom?
Yes.
Counselor Guerrero?
Yes.
Mayor Bain?
Yes. Okay, moving on to 5D, approval of auditor engagement letter. Our finance director, Joanne.
It's that time of year again. 2020 is over, thankfully. And so we need to move forward with our letter of engagement with Lauer, Zalbo and
Associates. They've been our auditor for several years now. They do an excellent job. We work well together, so I would appreciate it if we could keep them again. Last year, the audit cost us $14,800. Their fee for 2020 will be $15,400, and they usually have a slight increase, and this year's increase is $600. And if they don't have to charge us that full amount, they usually don't. But it's usually close to that amount,
pretty
whatever they put in the letter of engagement. So at this time, I'm just asking that council approve the mayor to sign the letter of engagement so I can get it back to Lauer so we can get some dates set up.
Okay, all right, thank you, Jill.
Thank you.
Look for a motion on this item.
I move we approve the auditor engagement letter.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Counselor Garrell,
Yes.
Counselor Sherman,
Yes.
Counselor Stroud,
Yes.
Counselor Scalise,
Yes.
Counselor Lundstrom,
Yes.
Mayor Bing.
Yes. Okay, moving on to finance.
I move we approve disbursements and payroll from January 26, 2021 to February 8th, 2021 in the amount of $326,986.52.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I second.
Second. Further discussion? Roll call vote. Should have let you sit down.
Counselor Lundstrom,
Yes.
Counselor Scalise,
Yes.
Counselor Stroud,
Yes.
Counselor Garrell,
Yes.
Counselor Sherman,
Yes.
Mayor Bing.
Yes. Okay, moving on to staff reports. First up, I have Rick Karoglian, Assistant Administrator and Community Development Director.
Good evening, Mayor.
Hello.
And members of the council. Allison saw the pictures of your hand. So sorry to hear that.
Thank you.
I know it's pretty painful.
It's pretty painful.
I've got a couple of just items just to keep you updated on. Building permits, we're doing well. We had 16 so far for this year. Trying to come up with a better system to keep track of things. Randy's no longer with us, and so I'm taking up that role. It's in my department anyways, but it's just more work to keep track of permits and do inspections too. So I've done quite a number of inspections, final inspections, roof inspections, clean outs. So doing a lot of reading to make sure I'm doing it right. So that's one. Facade grant, we got finally, someone has applied for a facade grant. It's for a new sign, and I've already approved it, and it's gonna be where the gathering building is. They're gonna put a new sign on it, so we're excited to help them out. Our small business relief grants, we have 4 that have applied. I've reviewed them, and they're gonna all they'll all get the caps, what they have supported. It's much lower than what our grants we've done, the past recovery grants, but that's 4 other businesses that we're able to help. So that's that.
And that's the 4th round, right?
That's the 4th round,
Okay.
that's correct. 304 Clayton, that's the building that the city purchased. That will be our future planning and zoning building. We are last 2 weeks we've been in renovations, and so it's doing really well. Walk through, they're adding 2 bathrooms, they're framing it up, they're doing the plumbing, the electrical, and that's what's going on right now. So making great strides, and hopefully we'll be in there within the next 4 to 6 weeks is the goal. We have 2 applicants that will be going before the Board of Adjustments. 2 things that I've had to deny because our city code doesn't give me authorization to approve it. So they're appealing to the Board of Adjustments, and I'm in the process of doing the documentation for that. One will be an easy one. I think the board will be able to do. The other one basically is going to be a challenge, because if you open the door on this, it opens the door for a lot. So it's going to be a challenge. So, but it's appropriate to take before that board to make that decision. Is it a hardship? And it will have to meet that criteria according to our code. And then some of you may be aware, this is my last update for what I'm doing. The last one is, some of you may be aware, but Westwood subdivision developer LDI has withdrawn his application, And so just a little bit of backstory. We have presented his first application to the Planning and Zoning Commission. There were quite a number of issues that we were trying to work through. It was 35, but we kind of narrowed it down to and grouped some of them, so it was about 18 that were in groups within multiple things within a group. We took Joy, our consultant through RG and Associates, took time to review them. We made our comments. We submitted those during December, in early January. LDI then responded and did a resubmittal, and we then 2 weeks ago as a staff team reviewed that resubmittal, took time thoroughly to examine all of the situations. We responded back on some of the things that we feel that our city code still demanded, these things that were required for that subdivision. We responded last week as a united front from infrastructure, Dale, me overseeing the project, and then Joy from the engineering side. Responded back to the resubmittal, and their response was, if and when we decide, then we'll get back with you. So we were supposed to meet on Friday. They responded back and said, we're withdrawing. So we never had a chance to meet with them in a work session. They just withdrew. So that's where we are. It does seem a little disappointing because we put 2 years into this. But just to let you know, we fought very hard to make sure that the city of Brush was thought for and was heard. This is what our standards are. This is what our community demands. And we had lots of interactions of trying to have compromise. We were never able to get to the point where we can compromise. We were hoping to do that in a hearing that first time, but the developer decided to take a chance even though we weren't in agreement. Good news is that's a very, very great, valuable piece of land for Brush. I mean, east is in the flood area. That's our best property to develop. I've already have 4 other developers that have shown interest for that, waiting to hear if this were to fall through. So it's a good sign. There's great interest in that. So even it seems a little disappointing, we're far from being finished in that area. So, any questions?
Do we have any leads on that building inspector replacing that?
No. But we better.
Just a comment.
That's a lot for you. That's a lot for
Mayor,
you
just
to.
a comment before I forget. Sorry, go ahead.
No,
Larry.
good.
I think that this is a great opportunity for us to wrap up that fees in lieu of land dedication before that becomes an issue again with a developer. If we can get on that and get that taken care of before it becomes an issue again.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you want to know you have specific questions or want to know things, contact me and I'll talk to you privately about it if you want to know more details about it.
Okay.
Great.
All right.
One question, Rick, the small business grants, are we gonna have another council meeting before those are due to go out at the deadline? So I thought we had the deadline coming up.
Correct, the 19th was the deadline to have them dispersed.
And we won't have a meeting before then?
No. So we're capped on what we can disperse based on what the grant guidelines say. So I don't remember what the caps are.
There's no buses here, Glenn. You're okay.
We got approximately 38,000,
Yeah.
and we won't even come close
We
to
won't
that,
spend
because
it.
the highest we can put out is 7,500.
Okay. I thought it was 3,500.
I thought that was a low.
Okay.
Between 35
We're off on
and
this.
7,500.
Yeah. We will not spend what we don't have. So we've been authorized it. We were hoping to get about 15 or so applicants. We only had 4, even though I went to all of the restaurants personally and gave them an actual hard copy of an application. We did have 4 respond. So we have plenty of the money that we'll be reimbursed whatever we need. So should we get?
So the point was that the checks will go out before the next meeting.
Okay.
And council will see those in your next set of bills, and we'll just ratify it afterwards, but we won't exceed what we brought in. And it's a reimbursable, so the money goes out. Joanne's got it on the Department of Local Affairs, their portal. So once we send those checks out, she can then do her reimbursement, and I think they're pretty fast now. They're going pretty quick.
So is this the last round?
This is,
Number 4?
well, this is the last round until they decide to do another one.
But I mean, it will exhaust all of the funds.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is totally separate from the one that we received in 2020, and I'll speak to that
Oh,
in my
okay.
slide.
Yeah.
This is, yeah, that's something the legislature did after January, right?
Right,
Okay,
and I'll speak to the 2020 one.
okay. There's, yeah, okay.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you, Rick. Okay, next up, Derek Boss, Police Chief.
Good evening, council. Just a few things real quick. I think I mentioned probably a month ago or so, we had to go through a federal credentialing process so that we can continue to receive federal grant monies, which directly impacts the Drug Task Force. We did get credentialed, so that's successful. The only piece remaining is we get a surprise audit sometime in the next 3 years to make sure we're in compliance. So whenever that happens, I'll let you know, but I won't know until they show up.
Okay.
At the last council meeting, I mentioned we extended an offer to a police officer to fill our last vacancy. We had to retract that based on the background investigation, so we re-advertised that position this week. And then the last thing I have tonight, I was asked to speak briefly on open records and Cora and kind of how that works with the police department. So very briefly, kind of a broad overview. There's two components for us. There's Cora and CCJRA. So Cora would be if somebody comes in, they want public records, emails, complaints, anything like that. We charge, the first hour is free, and then $25 an hour after that, 25 cents a page. We have 3 days to comply, and that's basically it. I think Loranda's going to talk a little more about that on the city side. CCJRA is Colorado Criminal Justice Records Act, and that governs active investigations, arrest reports, criminal histories, and things of that nature. So with those, we get the request in, we have 3 days to respond, but we don't have to provide results within 3 days. So our response could be, it'll take more time, or we can hold things back based on investigations. So if somebody, just the other day, we had somebody request a record on an active investigation, and we had to tell them, we can't give you anything at this point because this is an active investigation, and that would compromise our investigation. If we can release records, it's the same charges, so first hour is free, $25 after that, and 25 cents a page.
Can I ask a question about
Yes, ma'am.
Cora? So I had looked it up, and per the Colorado Revised Statute, I believe it was implemented in either, it was 1965 or 1974-ish. I recently had this conversation come up with a different community member whose spouse is law enforcement outside of our county, and they were told that they were not allowed to participate in social media in any way because of Cora. That doesn't make sense if it predates social media.
So I can't speak to other department policies.
Right.
What
I'm
we
just
have to
wondering if that's
do-
something that applies to our officers.
So what we have to do with social media is anything that belongs to the city, we have to archive. So if somebody came in and said, what was on your Facebook page 2 years ago, we pull that record and provide it. Personal accounts, totally different. We don't have any core obligation to pull personal social media or whatnot.
Okay, and I was just wondering about that, because I felt like the two were very different, and maybe Dan can speak to that as well, because I'm like, that doesn't make sense, and so I didn't know if that was something that had extended out here, so it was interesting to me that you brought up Cora today.
Yeah, I don't have no idea where that comes from, to be honest
That's
with you.
crazy.
It's our obligation to provide it if they ask for it, so.
Okay.
Okay.
That is a policy that we do hear frequently, and it is probably a policy specific to that jurisdiction. But best practice as far as social media, and that would be to have them as two separate entities, where, for example, Brush Police Department would have its own page, and then Chief Boss would have a personal, not related, nothing to do with work, should he choose to have a Facebook page or something.
And I do not.
Okay, thank you, Dan.
All right, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Lance Schwitt, Director of Community Services.
Haven't been here in a while, so
We missed you.
yeah.
We haven't been here in a while
A
either.
lot better. So, just a few things, kind of keep you updated. Just recently, we had our park supervisor retire, Dale Crespin, and we replaced him. We moved somebody over from the street department, Corey Getman, so he has started and is doing well, and everything, so I just wanted to give you an update on that. As far as the golf course goes, the restaurant, as you guys have heard, since Saturday, we got moved to blue, so our capacities are quite a bit more. And so we are now pretty much fully allowing the civic groups to come back in. There's less restrictions and all that, and we're able to accommodate more people in the bar and the banquet areas. Speaking of which, this weekend on Friday and Saturday, we will have a Valentine's Day special, which will be steak and shrimp for $24.95 a person. And we do ask that you have reservations because we still are limited capacity-wise, but it is a lot less restrictive than what it used to be. So 842-5470 is our phone number out there. And also today, we sent out our membership emails for all those that have been asking about the memberships and all that. Last year was kind of a record-setting year as far as number of people that participated out there at the golf course. I think a lot of that had to do with the COVID and people looking for things to do, and it is kind of a social distancing sport, so I'd imagine the same is going to apply this year. So those membership emails have went out. If anybody's interested in getting a membership, again, they can call Carson at the course at 842-5470. A couple things within the rec department. We're going strong on youth basketball right now. We actually have a league here in Northeast Colorado. We participate in Saturdays and Sundays over at the high school. Things are going really well so far, and we have about 10 local teams that are playing, and we have 66 teams total in Northeast Colorado that are participating in that league. We are getting ready to start youth baseball signups, which will start in March and April. And one thing that we canceled on March 12th last year, we're going to have it this year on March 13th, is our St. Patrick's Day race. Kind of everything went downhill in a couple days there last year, so we are looking forward to the St. Patrick's Day race, and that'll be held March 13th, so we will be getting out registration forms and information on that in the near future. And finally, I haven't been here in over a month, but we did receive our annual donation from the Joslyn Needham and Jack Pettis Foundation. It's kind of a weird time to mentioning that because the chairman of the board did pass away last week, and so, you know, very sad, but we did receive over $200,000 for projects in Brush for the Parks and Recreation. Over the last 20 years, they have donated approximately $4 million to the city of Brush's Parks and Recreation, and that's just Parks and Rec. I mean, there's so much more that goes on with Ebenezer, the hospital, and other entities within the city. So very, very thankful to have the foundation, and we're still looking forward to the continued relationship moving forward. So any questions?
Thank you, Lance. Next up, Joanne Gosseling, Finance Director.
I just have one quick item this evening. I was going to talk a little bit about our 2020 coronavirus funding that we received. We had received $317,517 in 2020. That money was all spent by the end of December of 2020, and the way those programs work is that we have to spend all of the money, or you have to spend the money, and then you can get reimbursed for it. So the final paycheck from that was $51,306 that we got in the last of January, reimbursed for that. But it is all final and closed out, and we did spend all of the money that we were given.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you. Miranda Packard, City Clerk.
Chief Boss talked earlier about Cora a little bit, and we wanted to talk about that tonight because Counselor Strow back in January had brought that up and questioned what our processes were, what our practices were. So I just wanted to take a minute and talk about that tonight. When you came in this evening, there's a handout for you that shows what our policy is and what the form is that we use online. It's the PDF form. We also have where you can submit a CORA request through our website, and it will go directly to my email. So the process is for a CORA request or any public information that they're requesting from the city, it comes to the clerk, and then I will go back and I will make contact with them. First, let them know that we've received that request, and then I'm going to confirm what that request is. I want to make sure that we're absolutely clear on what they're looking for, and then I'll ask questions to clarify if I don't fully understand, or, you know, I'll pose the question, am I understanding you correctly? Give them that chance to answer me back. Then what I will do is, if it's not a record that I can retrieve myself, I will go to the department, and actually, I'm probably going to reach out to the department no matter what, and make sure that I'm retrieving the correct information, or if they have anything further to add. And then I'll go back to the person who's made the request. That's the simple process. Sometimes we'll have a very large request where it takes a little bit extra time, and I'll talk about that here in just a second. But our process or our practice is to answer these as quickly as possible, even though we do have up to 3 days. We try to get that answered as soon as we possibly can. It pretty well becomes a #1 priority for us. I pointed you to the policy and the request form that we use online. Most of our requests, I don't know if I mentioned this or not, come through the electronic submittal that comes directly to me. Sometimes we'll even get an email, you know, and that's fine, as long as we have it in writing, as long as we have a very specific request that we can easily understand. That's going to work just fine for us. The cost, Chief Boss had touched on that as well, but it's on the form that you have before you as well, where the 25 cents per hard copy, $25 per hour after the first hour. And with the larger requests, we had a request come through, for example, that was going to take our police department, we figured about 8 to 10 hours. And it was going to be, you know, an exorbitant amount of time, more than one person on there. So we reached back out to the requester, and we explained to them that the research, retrieval, redaction, all of that process is going to take, you know, the 8 hours. This is what it's going to cost. Are you still interested in that information? In this particular case, they were not. But if they were, then we would get an estimate together for them. It's going to cost you $400 or $200. And then we will require 50% of that as a down payment before we begin the research. There are some records that are exempt. It's a very short list of what is exempt. Usually with CORA, anything that's a public record, we are obligated to provide. And very rarely do we have to deny a request. Do you guys have questions?
So, I guess a comment to clarify why I was asking about this. When I worked in elections, I handled CORA requests for us. And we always had activists that were election activists that wanted to, you know, audit us basically. So there was one year, 2016, naturally, where they asked for the same records from every county, and the response they got was from between 0 from us to, I think, $22,000. That'd be the cost, half up front. So it was kind of used as a cudgel to not let them in to know what was happening, not to be transparent. So that's kind of what I wanted to look at this for, to make sure we're being as proactive as we can with our transparency, because, you know, it's what we're here for. So that's why I was asking. And I imagine these prices come straight from the state,
Yes.
I forget what it is, yeah.
The statute.
So I would say maybe we can talk about this more later, but for example, a DVD of a council meeting for $30. Maybe we can talk about that kind of stuff, unless Dan has other thoughts on that. But I think this is a good opportunity to make sure we're being as transparent as humanly possible. So that's what I was thinking about it, and thank you very much, Larenda.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you, Council. I do agree that this should be a very transparent thing. I think the instance that you're referencing, there is an exception in CORA. Sorry, Mike. clock's going off. There's an exception in Cora, where you take that data and use it for pecuniary gain, and so you kind of data mine it to figure out which cities are using which street sweepers, so you can sell street sweepers or whatever it might be. So that's probably what was happening in what you were talking about, but I do think Brush's policy is very transparent.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
The only other thing that I wanted to mention too is just to remind you that the CML legislative update is this Thursday, the 11th, and it's from 8:45 to 1:30, held virtually. If you're interested in attending, you want my help registering, just let me know.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Marty Triss, City Administrator.
You want to get the first?
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. Dan Krob, you're up. City Attorney.
I don't really have anything to add, but here for questions if you have any.
All right, thank you. Marty.
Okay, just a few items this evening. First one is the quiet zone. We did get drawings for the crossing there. They're at the 30% level. 30% level just means it's kind of the concept that they would send up to the Federal Railroad Commission. Administration, yep. And so it'll go up to them, and then also here in the state, the PUC will get a copy of those, and they'll be able to give us comments back if it's going to work or not. And the other thing that the report that I received was the estimated cost. Estimated cost of putting in the 4 quadrant arms is going to be $676,000. And we're hoping it to be less than that if some of the equipment out there was in good condition. But everything that's out there is very old and antiquated. So even the control boxes, everything need to be replaced and upgraded. That's a conservative number, a little bit high, just to make sure that we're within budget. And of course, this is not yet budgeted for the city of Brush. It's just to get us the ball moving and seeing if we want to move that direction. And we also have this information now so that we can meet with Department of Local Affairs and see if there's a chance at a energy impact grant for this project. Because right now we don't have that money available. Well, I guess we've got it available, but we don't have it anywhere.
Yeah.
We haven't allocated it for this right here. If anyone wants to take a look at that, after me, they can take a look. Other thing is, today I was contacted by Northeast Colorado Association of Local Governments, and they have a program, a transportation program called the Bustang. So Bustang. And what they're wanting to do is put a bus stop in some of the Northeast Colorado cities, Brush being one of them, Sterling another one, Fort Morgan, and these buses would have a route that would go up as far as Sterling, and there's a few towns it would stop at. And then also it would provide 5 days a week, and I believe it's 3 days a week to, it's either 3 days a week to Denver or 3 days a week to Greeley, then the other remaining to the other community. But they charge 17 cents a mile, which is a pretty good rate. So 17 cents isn't too much. And so they would like to know if they could put a bus stop right across the road here, the street, right in front of the post office on the street. And that would be a pickup point for the Bustang.
Is it making 2 stops here in a day so that those that leave are able to come back?
It's supposed to be an up and back, and you're supposed to be able to call in and know exactly when they're going to be coming down. Sounds like it's going to be on a schedule. And then you have to, they told me all the different details, but Union Station is one of the stops, and then can't remember where in Greeley. A couple stops in Greeley, couple stops in Denver, and then you just have to be back at a certain time and get your travels done that way. Now, the one thing that he mentions, they don't have to make decisions until June or July, so it's not like we have to make a decision right away. But I told him I would let the council know it's being discussed. And if you'd like, we can have the director there to come down and present to the council.
What sort of vetting process would the city, what sort of permission are they asking the city to give them?
Just the ability to have some on-street parking so they can
Okay.
park their bus and be dedicated. They said it's funded through CDOT, and CDOT would eventually build if we chose to, build not a kiosk,
Shelter, like a
bus
bus
stop shelter.
Yeah.
Oh,
there as
okay.
well. And so, something to think about, and any thoughts on it? Rick and we had talked about maybe in the downtown area, there might be a good location. They just said the sidewalks have to be ADA accessible.
Okay.
And the ramps and everything, so we know that our downtown area fits that model, so we thought downtown, they had asked about, by the post office, so. Just think about that, shoot me an
Okay.
email if there's any thoughts, ask a few people around town if they even use it, and see where that goes.
Okay.
But if the council would like, I'll bring them in to present, and you guys can ask more questions. Okay. Next item is Fire Department Training Center. Met with the chief and assistant chief, and they like the layout of the property. The engineer, Chad Cox with Western Engineering, he's got a draft budget. I need to visit with him this week, but meeting with the fire department command, two of the command staff, we had talked about maybe spreading out the cost over a few years versus all at once. And so that's what I'm gonna work on this week, so by next council meeting, should have more information there. However, if some of council remembers, some of you weren't here, we had committed to the Rural Fire District Board that we would meet annually to discuss what the needs were. So they're getting the same information that we're getting, and we can work together on our financing of different projects. So you'll be seeing an email come out from Miranda probably in the next week or so, just asking for some potential dates. That we
Okay.
could have a joint meeting with the volunteer fire departments, their command staff being present, so they can also hear at the same time, and be very transparent. That's all I got. One other thing is, on that topic of the fees in lieu of land dedication, what we're trying to do is, before we dove into another agreement with the school district, we have a few different items that we wanted to clear up first. The pedestrian vehicle study, we have an agreement currently with them on the Watchers Park well, and Dale's not here because he has 200 pages of water court and decrees that he has to review tonight, so he can visit with the irrigation company that we have our water coming from for the well that serves Beaver Valley. We need to renegotiate that this year. It's a 30-year agreement. It's come up this year, so we got to get that resolved. We have to try and figure out how to determine how much water the school district's been using compared to the city. But we have 5 different wells. They've got the one well, but theirs tends to be used more than our wells. So we're trying to run through all the different numbers, and once Dale has a chance to run through those decrees, then we can go back to the school district and talk in more detail about that.
I don't disagree with you on that, Monty. I just want to make sure that we get it resolved before we get put into another
Yeah,
situation
the
again.
same situation we were in, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, should be good to go. That's all I have.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, moving on to mayor and council reports. Does anyone have anything to report tonight? Council.
I do. I had a Parks and Wildlife officer reach out to me and ask me to write a letter in support of a grant that they were seeking from Great Outdoors Colorado. It was very clear from their intent that they wanted me to sign it as a city councilor. So I did reach out to the mayor, and I reached out to Monty as well to make sure that it was okay for me to do so. I did write the letter from a very first-person perspective. This is how I feel, making sure that I use the right adjectives in support of their grant, and then signed it that I was a city councilor here in the city of Brush, and that our citizens, so the purpose of the grant is to refurbish and to rebuild the damage that has been done out at Jackson Lake due to the excessive use from everyone being out there during COVID, because they actually saw more traffic than they ever really have before. And it did create some damage, and so they're seeking grants to be able to repair that land. And they really needed support. So I went ahead and wrote a very generic letter. I wish I could have been better prepared for that one. I only had 2 days' notice. But I wanted to make all of you aware of it, and not just the mayor and Monty, that I did do that for the Parks and Wildlife.
The only thing I would say about that, from the training that we had, is something like that, if council hasn't sanctioned something, I would just sign it as a private citizen, Allison Gorell, and not put the addendum on, because it can be thought of the council has approved
Right.
something along those lines.
It's very tricky, these situations sometimes that we get put into.
Right, that's how we learn. That's how we learn.
But it was very, I had 2 days, and I was calling Monty, I believe, on a Sunday to try and get that resolved. So just so you know, that did occur, and it was for Parks and Wildlife.
Okay. Anybody else? I guess what I'd like to say, Lance talked about this. We lost a tremendous person in Bob Gunnan the last week, and Lance touched on this, but Bob and his wife, through the Jack Pettis Memorial Foundation and also through the Jocelyn Needham Family Foundation, have truly blessed the city of Brush, and they've contributed to recreation for generations. So it's a tremendous loss for the community. And one of the things I thought about when I heard Bob had died, and I know Lance knows this because we've been in meetings with Bob, and one of the things that he said to me that I have kind of kept with me is when you're on council and you're making tough decisions for the city, he said, always just think about trying to do what's best for Brush. And he really believed that. And it has helped me many times with decisions where I'm not sure which way to go. Try to think about the best thing to do for the community. So I know we speak as one when we say our hearts go out to the family during this difficult time. And I think services for Bob are going tomorrow. It is, and I looked at the website, and it does say that they will have a Zoom meeting that you can access those services later on, or I think it's afterwards. I don't think they have a live thing, but anyway, I just wanted to give our condolences to the family for that. So, and I talked to Monty. One of the things that they were asking in lieu of flowers was a donation to the Hospital Rehabilitation Center, and Brush is going to donate $1,000 to that in memory of Bob. So, right. With that, we don't have anything under management. We have 5, I'm hoping, shorter items for our work session. So with that, I'll go ahead and adjourn, and we'll move immediately into our work session.